Hey, just finishing this claim to get Dave back on the road.
Nice. I wonder what Dave's doing.
You do your thing. We've got you covered.
Hey, is the power off on this?
I don't know. Just take it off.
Safety violation, unsafe work conditions.
In the construction trades unions, safety is our highest priority, and we train you to recognize and speak out on unsafe working conditions so that everyone arrives and goes home safely. Learn about careers in construction at georgiaconstructioncareers.com.
All right, good afternoon and welcome to the 274th episode of the Alfa Insurance Georgia Prep Sports Drive for the GHSA State Title, brought to you by georgiaconstructioncareers.com. Today we are going to recap the Week 5 action. I'm going to highlight the play of the week. The best play from all the Week 5 action happened to come from our game, and I'll explain why. I'm going to go over the new rankings, and then we're also going to look ahead at some of these big region matchups and how the landscape is shaping up. But let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to talk about our game and how Marist was able to pull away with a 31-14 victory. The first thing that stood out is Marist. They got off to a great start, returned the opening kickoff deep into BT territory, really came out and set the tone, looked to be in mid-season form. BT, you could tell they were a little young, and I think if you look at their schedule and how youthful they are, if you would have told them that they'd be 3-1 at this point, with some pretty big victories. Let's not forget they opened the season with that win over Calhoun. I think 3-1 is a good sign heading into the region action. That's kind of right where they want to be. There's things they can learn from, and I think we saw the offense start to take that next step. They came out in the third quarter and were really electric, had two outstanding drives, made the game close, but then Marist was just too much in that final quarter. Some of the developments from the game, though, let's look at the the BT offensive line. It was, I think, the final series of the third quarter, their left guard Sanchez, he went down, and that I'm told that's going to be an ACL, so he'll be out for the season. That is a tough break on that BT offensive line. I think they had another player out. That was a running back, right? Number 7? Yep. Was out, yes. So they lose a lineman. They'll get the running back, and then thought Brooks Goodman, the quarterback, played a really good game. He didn't take sacks. Marist was bringing the heat, guys like Luke Harpering. And later in the game, once things were close, it was one of the craziest plays I've seen, but Marist just brought such a big pass rush, and Brooks took one of the biggest shots I've ever seen. He ended up, looked like he fumbled the ball. It looked like it was either going to be a safety or a touchdown, but they ended up, I guess, ruling it forward progress. But, I mean, he took an absolute shot. Other than that, he had good protection the whole time and was able to get Bryce Lewis involved, the 6'6" junior that I think is going to get a lot more action moving forward this season. He's a huge mismatch. He made some unbelievable plays, and I was very, very impressed with him. As for some of the other guys and weapons on that BT offense, I think there were a little noticeable jitters on the team. You had situations like on kickoff return. I think BT had 2 or 3 plays where the return man dropped it, had to pick it up. So they lost the field position battle. and then fell behind early, which the first 3 points were set up by that big kick return and then a field goal. And then the second drive for Marist that resulted in points was a pitch from quarterback Jack Ewert that was Joseph Pizzo, and he made a nice run that put him up 10-0. So BT was moving the ball, and as good as Marist was playing, I was thinking, okay, this is a great sign. BT's starting to get the offense rolling. They're going to get the ball to start the second half. They're only going to be down 10-0. All they need to do is put points on the board that first drive. They're going to be in good shape. Well, that's when the play of the game happened. There's 11 seconds left. Marist has the ball on their own 45-yard line, and Jack Ewert, the quarterback, has a quarterback keeper right up the middle for a 55-yard touchdown. Absolutely brutal way to go into the half for BT. It could have been a 10-point lead. Instead, they're down 17-0, have to crawl back all the way from that. And said at the time, I've never seen that before. We've seen incredible Hail Marys, maybe a hook and ladder at the end of the half. You never expect to see a quarterback keeper go for 55 yards. And there's a couple reasons that play was able to be successful. One, Marist always has running quarterbacks. That's what they do. You always have to pay attention to those runs up the middle. But it was also just an incredible play design. Marist put 3 receivers way out wide, including who was that? Yeah, Luke Harpering, the Georgia Tech commit. They put him pretty much down at the numbers, and so BT was expecting a pass, a Hail Mary or something out in the perimeter. Then all they needed was about 2 blocks to free up some space, and Jack Ewert was off to the races. So we're going to go ahead and play this. I thought it was a great call as well by Brandon and Rusty in the booth. That's why these broadcasts are so outstanding. You'll see Brandon recognize it immediately that this play has the potential to go all the way. But I just thought this was such an impressive result that kind of epitomizes that Marist attitude, where they went out there 11 seconds. Okay, let's try to score. Where BT, I think they were already kind of leaning towards the locker room, and that was just a devastating play. But also credit to Marist. Let's go ahead and roll it.
Watch Harpering right here. Got some size to him at the bottom of the screen. See if they throw him one up for him. Spread
There's going to be Ewert keeping it. He's got some room to run. Look out here. Ewert taking off. 20, 15, 10, 5, touchdown. Wow. Found a seam in the middle of the defense, and Jack Ewert ran right through it.
All right, so let's run it one more time. Once again, this is Marist on the road. They've got the lead.
Watch Harpering
about
right
to go
here.
into the half. They know BT's going to get it first. You see the receivers down there.
There's going to be Ewert,
and there's the key block right there.
Look out here. Ewert taking off. 20, 15, 10, 5.
None up for him.
There's going to be Ewert keeping it. He's got some room
And that's
to run.
Jackson
Look out
Hughes,
here.
the fullback,
Ewert
number
taking
41.
off. 20,
He played outstanding.
15, 10, 5, touchdown. Wow.
So there you have it. That's my play of the week, brought to you by GeorgiaConstructionCareers.com. A really just historic thing. I mean, you don't expect that to happen. I thought I've seen it all, but that was truly a special play and really just sent a message. And I think with that youth that BT has, that's a situation where once that happens to you, your focus is going to be a lot better at the end of halves. You expect someone to come up and make that play. It doesn't. But then you also have to credit the way BT was still able to respond and make it a ball game. cut the lead to 17-14. I believe that was what it was cut to after a pair of touchdowns. But overall, I thought it was a great game. I think both teams are going to be very fun to watch the rest of the season in region play as they go their separate ways. They both are going to be in Class 6A, but will not meet again until perhaps next season. All right, so let's look at the rest of 6A, though, as there were some major region openers, beginning with Gainesville. They had the Region 8 opener. They're ranked number 1, and they just keep getting better every week. They had the win over Marist to open the season, and then really that offense is just exploding, and it's just big win after big win. They've had a nice out-of-state win as well, but a 70-6 victory over Appalachia. That is historic right there. Eric Hurt returned the opening kickoff, 94 yards for a touchdown. Travian Watson returned a punt, 96 yards for a score in the second quarter, and they were up 63-0 at the half. That is crazy, and here's just one more stat on how efficient they were scoring the football. Baxter Wright, the quarterback, 5 of 6 passing for 3 touchdowns and 127 yards. That shows me they are just rolling on full cylinders right now, where pretty much every time they're getting the ball in their hands, they're scoring a touchdown or producing a big play. So huge result for the top-ranked team right there. Well, what about Hughes, who hasn't lost to a 6A school in years? Their only loss was that out-of-state one on Saturday. And they're at number 2, an obvious state title contender as well, with Aaron Nolan at quarterback. Well, they opened up with a 47-0 win over New Manchester in region play. They had 312 yards rushing on the ground. That's Dorian Page, Justice Savage, and that's a great sign as well, because when that Hughes running game gets going, that's just easy money for Aaron Nolan and all those explosive playmakers they have. He was 6 of 11, 96 yards, 2 touchdowns. So Hughes cruises to the victory. Well, the big game this week is going to be at Hughes, and that's going to be Douglas County. Perhaps their biggest challenger in the region. This could be the de facto region championship, and it's an undefeated Douglas County team against Hughes, who, as we mentioned, lost out of state, hasn't lost in state in 2 years. Douglas County, they beat Alexander 50-8. Sire Hardaway, one of the state's leading passers this season, 15 of 21 for 211 yards and 2 touchdowns. He sat, I believe, the entire second half, but they had their sophomore come in. He had success as well. And then James Johnson had 138 yards from scrimmage, 3 touchdowns on just 7 touches. So we're starting to see a lot of playmakers for Douglas County get involved. They also have Aaron Gregory. I think he's ranked at this point like the #1 athlete in the 2026 class. He was primarily, I guess, considered a receiver, but he's been playing a lot of defense, so I think he got recategorized, but obviously a huge receiver threat and can also go in there and play in that secondary. So I think that's going to be one heck of a matchup. Marist, think they moved up in the poll in mine. Yeah, they stayed the same in the AJC poll. They're sitting at number 7. I think that's a good spot for them. They are in front of Roswell, Woodward, who they just beat in Douglas County, who I'm just noticing this. Yeah, the AJC has Douglas County in their poll for the first week. They were not ranked before this. So out of the 6 outlets, last week it was 4 that had Douglas County. I think Douglas County will be in all of them this week. Let's see. You also had Thomas County Central in 6A, 44-7 win over Brooks County, a ranked team. Thomas County Central just looks outstanding once again. Houston County, they were off. They'll play Warner Robins next Friday. That'll be a big one. And then they have their showdown with Lee County coming up on September 29th. That is going to be quite a matchup. And Lee County is also in that top 5. They beat Lake Gibson, Florida, 45-14. I think that's the second year in a row they've gotten the win over them. Weston Bryan was 8 of 10 passing, 143 yards and 2 touchdowns, both to Osman Croma. And here's the stat that is pretty interesting considering that they're going to be playing that Houston County offense soon. Lee County had 9 sacks in that Lake Gibson game and held them to -1 yard rushing. So that Lee County defense is producing turnovers, getting after the quarterback, and just shutting it down. Rome was off this week. They're going to be at Allatoona opening that region play. Allatoona is 0-5, so should be a good, favorable matchup for them. Woodward Academy bounced back from the Marist loss, an easy 56-0 win over Morrow. So that's what 6A is looking like right now. I think it's interesting, but you got to give Gainesville that number 1 spot right now, just the 5-0 start. And that game, I mean, you're returning the opening kickoff, punts, easy efficiency on offense, and then defensively they look improved as well. So let's look at these other roundups real quick from our side. One sec. Actually, I thought our BT Marist roundup was fantastic. I'm just going to go over it one more time. So BT entered the matchup having allowed just 7 points per game during the 3-0 start, but the Marist offense got a 36-yard field goal following Trace Gaines' big return on the opening kickoff. Then the next points we mentioned came on the option pitch to Joseph Pizzo after converting a key 4th down. BT ended the opening quarter with a 4th down conversion of its own, but was forced to punt to start the second. The Titans got the ball for just the 3rd time of the game with 3:30 left in the half. That is such a key point, just how well Marist was able to control time of possession that first half. And then after a missed Marist field goal attempt, they punted for the 3rd time following a big sack from Luke Harpering. Junior Jack Ewert, that's the quarterback we mentioned, showing that play of the week, had the 55-yard touchdown. Then the opening drive of the second half for BT ended in a punt, but then freshman DJ Jacobs forced a fumble on the following Marist possession, and Luke Ferguson recovered it in War Eagle territory. Junior quarterback Brooks Lewis then found Bryce Lewis for a 21. Yeah, that's wrong. Brooks Goodman. I'll fix it. Then found Arizona commit Bryce Lewis for a 21-yarder to put BT on the board at the 6:18 mark of the 3rd. After finally forcing a punt from Marist, the Titans marched 84 yards down the field in 12 plays, cutting the lead to 17-14 on a Goodman keeper. Senior Jackson Hughes added a pair of rushing scores, including one from 42 yards out from Marist. And Jackson Hughes is number 41. Not only did he have the 2 touchdowns to Isaac game, he also had the touchdown block that led to that big one before the half. He played outstanding. He's a tough player and a true Marist standout. And then, so BT will be at Sprayberry next week. Marist looks like they have a bye, and then they will take on Dunwoody. So this is a great roundup right there. And, the time of possession, that was the thing I missed in my original recap. But, they were able to make that first half run very quickly. All right, so the big result in 7A I thought was Newton beating Westlake, a very, I'd even say shocking result. Newton's been known to upset highly ranked teams. They're always competitive. I think they beat Parkview last year in the region. They always seem to make the playoffs. But, they have a first-year head coach. Westlake was absolutely balling out, and Newton held them to just 6 points at the half and then won 27-12. And they are on the bye now, and then they're going to play Grayson in 2 weeks. That's going to be quite a matchup, one that is really shaping up and gaining momentum in these weeks ahead, just after seeing how Grayson responded to its season opening loss to Walton. They've been just on fire, and then Newton just picking up this win shows a lot. So let's see what happened in this one. It says the Rams set the tone early with an impressive goal line stand after the Westlake offense picked up a 1st and goal at the 1. They stopped Westlake on a 1st and goal from the 1. That is impressive. And then forced the turnover on downs, and then got on the board shortly after with an 84-yard touchdown from Zion Johnson. So you can tell that play really sparked Newton to get the goal line stand and then turn it into quick points to grab that lead. That is very impressive. And so I was watching the scoreboard throughout the game, and I saw that Brookwood was really struggling. They were down 22-0 to Carver Columbus. They're a ranked team in Class 3A, and they came all the way back and won 23-22, a much-needed victory. And then junior kicker Caitlin Soroka had the game-winning kick after a great onside kick that put it back in the Broncos' hands. I watched both the kicks. They were extremely well executed, very exciting for her. That's a memory I'm sure she'll always have. That was epic to see. My question is, what's up with the Brookwood offense at this point, though? 0 points. They didn't score until late in the third quarter. They're going to be playing some tough competition. They're in that region with Newton, Milton, Grayson, Newton, Parkview, and you got to put South Gwinnett in there also. I think Archer's in there as well. So a good win for Brookwood, but offensively they've really got to get things going. All right. Let's continue with that region. Parkview, their second shutout of the season. I think their defense is very underappreciated. They have playmakers on offense, but, man, they're athletes in the secondary, and then some of their guys on that line of scrimmage are the real deal. They beat St. Pius 48-0. It looks like they are hosting Mill Creek next week in a battle of 2 unbeatens. That will be a good one. All right, but we're going to leave it there, and we'll continue the Week 5 coverage on the other side. But first, let's thank our sponsors.
What you doing?
Hey, just finishing this claim to get Dave back on the road.
Nice. I wonder what Dave's doing.
You do your thing. We've got you covered.
Hey, does it matter if this leaks?
It don't matter to me. Can't see it from my house.
Illegal use of hands, improper training.
GeorgiaConstructionCareers.com has 14 different highly skilled trades with tuition-free training in our certified apprenticeship programs to train you the right way. Find your career at GeorgiaConstructionCareers.com.
All right, welcome back. So back to Region 4. We were talking about Newton. They're 5-0. Parkview's 4-0. South Gwinnett's 4-0. Grayson's 3-1. 3 straight wins for them, and then you got Brookwood at 2-2, Archer at 2-3. So Archer this last week, they had a nice 47-0 win over Shiloh, and so they aren't going to get into region play quite yet. There'll be one more week, but I do think there are some outstanding matchups with Region 4 teams this week. So on Thursday, you're going to Brookwood at South Forsyth. Let's see how they respond to this last one. South Forsyth's been off to a pretty decent start, but their offense has also struggled a little bit. You got Grayson against Lowndes. That's obviously Coach Carter is now at Lowndes. He'll be playing the Rams. You got Mill Creek at Parkview. That's going to be number 3 Parkview, number 3 Mill Creek, number 6 Parkview, and then South Gwinnett, an undefeated 4-0 South Gwinnett team is at Norcross. There's going to be a ton of athletes in that game. You know how good A.J. Watkins has been for Norcross. But with South Gwinnett, 42-27 win over Pebblebrook, a 25-0 shutout over Meadow Creek, a 21-12 win over Decatur, and then this last week a 40-0 shutout over William Felton. So Coach Lamar, he's got a defense that has A.J. Pigford on the defensive line, some big-time pass rushers, physical guys. It's not going to be easy to run. It's going to come down to play design, recognizing the coverages, and should be a really intriguing matchup. Let's see what happened last year. Another big reason that this is an important game. South Gwinnett was 4-0 last year. Heading into that Norcross game, it was their final non-Region 1. They ended up losing it 41-18 and then lost their next 5. So they started 4-0, finished 0-6. So they're going to want to come out and get that revenge on Norcross, a Norcross team that looks much different this year. Let's see, in Region 5, they still will have one more week before region play. But let's see. Wheeler lost its first game of the season last on Saturday, and that was to North Atlanta, who remains undefeated. They're obviously in 6A, but that's a big win for North Atlanta. That's their best start in school history, 30-22, and that's very interesting. I'll go back to North Atlanta in a second, but you got Kennesaw Mountain's going to play South Cobb. They desperately need a win. They're 0-4. North Cobb is going to be playing Milton. North Cobb is 2-2. Played a brutal non-region schedule. This is the latest powerhouse on it before they get things started in Region 5. Osborne, they're off to a 4-0 start. They'll be at Woodland, Cartersville, and then you got Wheeler at Campbell. That should be a solid matchup as well. In Region 7, Lambert is still undefeated at 4-0. They're going to play East Coweta after East Coweda's big win over, that was, hold up, I got that. Let me get that final score. East Coweta has defeated Sandy Creek and now Lowndes in consecutive weeks. So the Lowndes one was 42-30. So that might be a game of the week candidate for sure. Lambert against East Coweta, very interesting. Both are going to be undefeated. And then, the Milton and North Cobb, and then South Forsyth, we mentioned that's going to be a Thursday game against Brookwood. So that makes it seem like that region's probably on fall break. That's where they're having those early games. All right, so Region 7 will get things started in region play. It's going to be the second straight week of region action for Peachtree Ridge, Norcross, and North Gwinnett. Peachtree Ridge got a 39-7 win over Berkmar. North Gwinnett 39-10 win over Duluth, and then Norcross 49-0 over Discovery. So those teams are all 1-0. Meadow Creek hasn't yet opened up region play, and they're going to be traveling to Peachtree Ridge, who is now 5-0, and Meadow Creek is 0-4. We will see what happens in that one, but that's a big opportunity for Peachtree Ridge to improve to 6-0 before they have to square off with Norcross and North Gwinnett for a chance at the region title and home field. So big region games in 7. All right, so and then region 8, we got the Buford against Marietta. Buford just had another shutout, 31-0 over Carver Atlanta. Central Gwinnett fell to Miller Grove 32-21. Miller Grove continues to impress. They had a big win over Lowndes recently. They were one of the better teams that missed out on the playoffs last year. I like them a lot. They've got an outstanding run game as well. Collins Hill at Westlake. That will be interesting. Collins Hill's played some tough competition, but they've yet to have a signature win. And then Westlake is going to be very motivated after that loss this past week to get back on track, that loss to Newton. All right, so let's look back at 6A real quick. We're going to have Houston County at Warner Robins. Huge game right there. Warner Robins had another big comeback this last week. They're a 5A team. Houston County is 6A, but still it's a big rivalry matchup. It will be top 10. You're going to have Thomas County Central playing another out-of-state, and then region action will kick off the week after that. In Region 2 and 6A, 3-1 Glenn Academy against 2-1 Brunswick. Brunswick had, I think, one of their games canceled during the storms a few weeks ago, so they've only played 3 games, but they're coming off a 63-0 win over Islands. And then Glenn Academy's coming off a bye, and then you got South Effingham and Effingham County playing their region openers. In Region 3, Jonesboro had another big win. They beat Dutchtown, I think, 2 or 3 weeks ago, and then opened up the region 53-0 victory over Forest Park, one of their oldest rivals that they've now just completely dominated that series recently. They're going to play Rockdale County next. Rockdale County is 1-3 overall, 0-1 in the region. You got Woodward against Alcovey, and then Forest Park's going to play Mundy's Mill. Alcovey is 1-3, and right now you got Mundy's Mill at 4-0, and they'll probably have a nice result against Forest Park. So it looks like Mundy's Mill, Woodward, and Jonesboro at this point are all vying for that top seed. North Atlanta, one of the first teams to 5-0 this season. They are going to be on the bye this week before the region play gets started, and then watch out later on this season. You're going to have a region showdown between North Atlanta and Marist. I think that will be an incredible game. All right, Region 5, we were talking about Douglas County and Hughes. One of the other teams that's off to a great start in that region is East Paulding. They're 2-0 now. They're 3-2 overall, and they had a 21-6 win over South Paulding. So you got 4 teams right now at 0-4. Paulding County's at 1-1, and then Douglas County and Hughes are both 1-0 in the region. All right, in Region 6, Allatoona at Rome. It looks like that is the only game this week on that region schedule. The rest will be off. We mentioned BT's opening up against Sprayberry. Alpharetta is going to play Pope. Johns Creek is going to play Roswell in Region 7. And then in Region 8, Gainesville's off on the bye, 5-0. Got Jackson County against Appalachia. Jackson County has had 2 double overtime, I think, wins this season, and then Appalachia's coming off that whooping from Gainesville, and then Shiloh is going to play North Forsyth, who joins Gainesville as the only teams that have gotten off to a 1-0 start in the region. So some good matchups, but I think so far looking at it, it's those matchups in 7A with the Brookwood, Newton, Grayson, cross classification ones, as it looks like Region 1 continues to play Region 1 in 4A. So you're going to have Statesboro at Burke County. Burke County is undefeated with Coach Franklin Stevens. They're off to a 4-0 start. Statesboro just lost to Wayne County. You're going to have Ware County playing at Bainbridge. That's number 1 Ware County against number 5 Bainbridge in 4A. And then another big matchup, yeah, you got Jenkins and Wayne County. So a lot of 5A versus 4A. In Region 2, looks like Jones County is going to be off this week. They just had a 54-12 win over Locust Grove in their region opener. Warner Robins has the non-region against Houston County. And then a team I want to give a shout out to is Ola. They're now 4-0. They're the only undefeated team in that region. They haven't opened up the region yet, though. They played Eastside, 42-14 win. They're going to be on a bye this week. So they had a bye the week before this last game. Now they have another bye, but that is a historic start, and Tom Causey comes over from, I think that was Madison County in okay, so Ola, they made the playoffs 4 straight years. They've never advanced past the first round. They were 9-2 in 2020. That was their best season in school history. And they made the playoffs just 5 times. Against Eastside, they actually reversed the score. Last year they lost 42-14. This year they won 42-14. So very interesting. And let's see when their next big matchup is. So after the bye, they're going to play Warner Robins on the road. Then they got Jones County, and then they close it out with Dutchtown. So can they make it out of that region? That will be something to certainly watch. But a 4-0 start nonetheless. They've got some major playmakers that return this year. All right. In Region 3, Northside Columbus, I believe they're the team that won the region last year. They're going to play Westover. Things won't get started for another 2 weeks in that region. Tucker at Stevenson this week, a great rivalry game right there. Stevenson's in 4A though, Tucker's in 5A. Arabia Mountains off to a great start, 3-1. They're going to play Locust Grove on Thursday. In Region 5, Creekside opened up region play this last week, a 49-6 win over Lithia Springs. They're going to play Chapel Hill next. He's off to a 3-1 start. Then you got Villa Rica against Banneker and Lithia Springs against Maynard Jackson. So they are in the thick of their region. And then Region 6 in 5A is also going to get open. It's going to be GAC against Northview, Chattahoochee against Cambridge, and Kell against Centennial. And at this point, it looks like GAC and Kell are on a collision course, but Cambridge also has picked up some impressive wins lately and had some big-time playmakers stepping up. All right, in Region 7, that's the one with Cartersville, Hiram, Dalton, Calhoun, Cass, and Woodland. We have to wait 1 more week, but there will be some big matchups. Dalton is going to be taking on Cedartown in a cross-classification matchup. And then in Region 8, Jefferson against Clark Central. That's number 4 Jefferson against number 10 Clark Central. And Clark Central is coming off a 21-20 win over South Forsyth. It looks like Jefferson was off this last week. And Loganville fell 19-15 to Winterboro in their region opener. They're going to be playing Heritage Conyers next. All right, so that's a game certainly that's going to be on the radar. Jefferson against Clark Central, and man, Jefferson has been dominating this season. All right, let's go to 4A, my classification real quick. So Bainbridge against Ware County. This is important because we saw Benedictine stacked up well against Ware County, got the win. How will the number 5 team in 4A handle that? Bainbridge has already played a very difficult schedule. This is just the latest one, but we will see. And they had a bye this past week. All right, in Region 2, Spalding is off to a 4-0 start. They're going to play Baldwin next. That's a top 10 matchup. Number 8 Spalding, number 10 Baldwin. I haven't put Baldwin in the poll yet, but I know a lot of the various outlets have them in that number 10 range. Perry is going to take on Howard. Both are off to 3-0 starts. That will be their Region 2 openers. And then you got Benedictine on a bye this week at 5-0. And then we mentioned the Burke County Statesboro game. All right, in Region 4, this is the one that last year proved to be the deepest playoff field. You had Stars Mill missing out on the playoffs with a 7-3 overall record. Well, they had a 21-7 win over LaGrange, a game they lost in brutal fashion last year, so that puts them in great position. They joined Troop at 1-0 and Trinity Christian, where you have LaGrange and Whitewater both losing their openers. Now Stars Mill is going to play Troop. So Stars Mill gets the win over LaGrange. Now they play Troop. Troop has the best defense in 4A this year. They're only giving up 7 points per outing. They just beat Whitewater 56-7, right at that average. So not only do they have the best defense, that offense is lighting it up every week, averaging about 46 points per game. Then you have Trinity Christian is going to play North Clayton, who's off to a very strong 4-1 start under Cap Burnett. So the Eagles have definitely been much improved from last year. But certainly that Stars Mill Troop matchup is going to be one to watch. All right, in Region 5, Stockbridge just got a region victory to improve to 2-0. They're tied with Lovett at the top of the standings. There's no region matchups this week, but I still really like this region. You have McDonough trying to make the playoffs. They're 1-1 in region action. Pace Academy's 1-1. Luella's 1-1. Hampton. So you're already starting to see about 5 or 6 teams emerge, and next week you're going to have McDonough against Pace Academy. That was a game that Pace won 32-30 last year, and it looked like the McDonough-Lovett game was pretty close, a 38-20 victory, so should be interesting. And then in Region 6, that one is also looking pretty interesting. Holy Innocents, I think, is going to be the favorite, though. They're 5-0. Looks like they're heading into their bye. They're number 6 in the polls. You got Miller Grove and Stevenson, though, right behind them, with just one loss on their schedule. So Stevenson's going to play Tucker. Looks like Miller Grove is off this week. You got Westminster playing Riverwood. And then Hateville Charter is going to take on Carver Columbus, all non-region games. Most of Region 7 will be off. And then in Region 8, North Oconee. I thought Madison County might be a challenge for them, but they ended up dominating that game 38-8. Looks like North Oconee is going to be in the driver's seat. But you have some other teams that have been off to, I guess, historic starts. I mean, North Hall, 4-0 overall. East Forsyth, a new school, only a few years old. They're 3-0. They played last week, but it wasn't a region game. They won 49-7, and they previously picked up a big region victory. So the games to watch this week, you're going to have Walnut Grove against East Forsyth, Cherokee Bluff against North Hall, and shout out to Cherokee Bluff because, they had the win over Chestatee 48-0, and then they lost that heartbreaker, I believe, to Madison County. So they look like a playoff team for sure. But let's go ahead. We'll take one more quick break and thank our sponsors, and we'll be back on the other side.
What you doing?
Hey, just finishing this claim to get Dave back on the road.
Nice. I wonder what Dave's doing.
You do your thing. We've got you covered.
Dang, where you get this car?
You need to join the union.
The union?
Absolutely. You can get 10 of these.
Union construction workers earn the highest wages with the best benefits and the most protection in the construction industry. Find your career in construction. Go to GeorgiaConstructionCareers.com and start your future today.
All right, welcome back. So we'll go ahead and look at the rest of these classifications real quick before we wrap up today's show. So let's look at 3A. Number 1, Cedar Grove. They had the loss to Mill Creek. That's not going to drop them in any of the polls, though. We know that Cedar Grove always challenges itself in those non-region games, but that was a 36-35 loss. I think from what I remember, Mill Creek really shut them down early in that game, and then those points came later on, and that's right. Mill Creek built a 42-9 lead in the third quarter, so by far that was the most impressive that I think Mill Creek's looked so far this season. They seem to be getting better every week, and that will certainly be a big test for Cedar Grove as now they get ready to take on Colquitt County. The fact that they play a tougher schedule than the majority of 7A schools and pretty much the majority of every school in the country, it's just crazy. You go from Mill Creek to at Colquitt County. That is next level. All right, number 2, Calvary Day. They're undefeated. I think they had their region opener. They beat Liberty County 57-7. Looks like we could see a rematch down the line between those two who met in the semis last year. They've been outstanding. Calvary Day, their quarterback Jake Merklinger had 3 touchdowns, 154 yards, and defensively they've been getting it done every week. So who else in 3A should we watch for? Well, obviously Sandy Creek, the defending state champs. They're coming off a big 27-21 win over Collins Hill. They were up 21-7. I thought that was just a good way to bounce back from that East Coweta loss. Stevens County, they've been absolutely dominating. They dominated their rival Rabun County earlier this season and then had a big 56-26 win over White County. Javin Gordon, 89 yards, 2 touchdowns on 25 carries, had a punt return for a touchdown. Looks like their rushing attack's just been getting it done. All right, Savannah Christian. They're in that top 5. They had a 35-0 win over Savannah Country Day. They're another team that's going to be dangerous this year in the playoffs. You had Carver Columbus nearly beating Brookwood. We'll see how they do against Hateville Charter coming up. And then it looks like Lumpkin County debuted in the poll for the first time in the AJCs. They're 4-0, and this is the first time they've been ranked since 1967. They will play Pickens next. Pickens is a team that they've been competitive in a lot of these matchups, but man, they've given up a lot of points. They're 1-3. And interesting, the AJC, the teams that dropped out of the poll this week were Carver, Atlanta, and Monroe area. All right, in 2A, who is number 1 in 2A? So Thompson currently holds it down. That's the defending state champs. They beat Laney 28-14, and they're going to play Washington County next. You got Appling County. They're 3-1. They beat a Florida team 40-6. Callaway, they stay at number 3. Pierce County's undefeated. Northeast, the team that has big wins this season, they defeated Fellowship recently, and then a 52-26 win over Ace Charter, a team that was, I think they were knocking on the door of being ranked. Nick Woodford, 314 yards rushing and 5 touchdowns. That's insane. And I got to look up their coach. I forgot his name, but he did play for Northeast, so they just have a lot going on in their favor this season. They've had historic results. That was the first time they ever beat a top-ranked team, I believe, and then they're just off to a fantastic start. And then you got Rockmart, a 28-16 win over Irwin County. That is a big sign for them. They've already had some pretty tough matchups this season. They lost to Cedartown by, I believe, a point. They're going to play Model next. And then Cook is at number 10. It looks like they will play Jeff Davis next. All right, Class A Division I, Prince Avenue Christian. They have not skipped a beat. They're 5-0. They beat Elka 58-18. Aaron Philo threw 50 passes for 408 yards and 6 touchdowns, 3 to freshman Hudson Hill. So that is a big sign for them. Who's going to fill in for all those senior receivers they lost? Looks like Hudson Hill is starting to step into that spotlight. Swainsboro's last year's runner-up. They're also 5-0. They beat ECI 27-12, and they still obviously have DeMello Jones and all that speed. Irwin County, that lost to Rockmart, didn't shift them at all. Brooks County's lost to Thomas County Central, did not move them. And then you got, I think, a surprise team people need to keep an eye on is Mount Vernon. They're off to a 4-0 start. They've always been an exciting team. They play everyone close, but this year they've just been dominant. They had a 40-20 win over Tatnall Square. And Bleckley County rounds out that poll with Bryan County. Let's see if there's any movement in Class A Division II. You still have Schley County at number 1. They beat Central Talbotton 42-14. They were up 42-7 at the half. They have Jay Kanazwa back at quarterback. He was 6 of 6, 89 yards, 4 touchdowns. Very impressive, and they have that bitter taste in their mouth after losing to Bowden in the finals. The rest of the poll, it looks like Greene County moved up from number 7 to number 5. They beat Oglethorpe County 14-7. They'll play 0-4 Towns County next, and then defending champion Bowden 49-15 win over Dade County. They're going to play Temple coming up, and Lanier County makes its debut in the poll. They had a 10-0 win over McIntosh County Academy, who exited the poll after falling to 2-2. And then Aquinas dropped down from number 6 to number 10. They fell to Harlem 47-42. And then it looked like they had a chance at the end but failed to get the onside. Their quarterback had 309 yards and 4 touchdowns. That's Jim Franklin. So it looks like the defense was the problem in that one, but not too much movement in the polls, but I think you can expect that to change this week with all the region action and some more just prime matchups, whether it's the Colquitt, Cedar Grove, ours, the Buford, Marietta should be interesting. And then you got the Parkview, Mill Creek one. Huge matchups. And then who did I say Norcross played? That's going to be... Oh, man, who was that? One sec. Oh yeah, South Gwinnett, undefeated South Gwinnett. Definitely going to be one to watch. Heading forward, that I think can shake the polls. South Gwinnett gets a win over Norcross. I think we're going to have to start paying attention to the comments in that undefeated start. But that's all we have for now. We're going to be back tomorrow with Underrated and Overlooked. We'll be talking college football and NFL. On Saturday, it was the most college football I've watched in years. I'm not kidding. Probably watched 11 straight hours, so I'm going to be prepared. We'll talk about some of these big matchups. And then, as Najee pointed out, this week has even better matchups than last week. There are some really premier ones. And then we'll talk some NFL as well. We'll talk about what we saw week 5 and some big recruiting news. So join us then. Go to the YouTube page. We have the full BT Marist game uploaded. You can check it out and much more. So thank you so much. We'll see you then.
What you doing?
Hey, just finishing this claim to get Dave back on the road.
Nice. I wonder what Dave's doing.
You do your thing. We've got you covered.
Hey, is the power off on this?
I don't know. Just take it off.
Safety violation, unsafe work conditions.
In the construction trades unions, safety is our highest priority, and we train you to recognize and speak out on unsafe working conditions so that everyone arrives and goes home safely. Learn about careers in construction at GeorgiaConstructionCareers.com.